Hey, well, welcome to the greatest, brightest audience in America. We are going back, or we're continuing the path down the Walt Brown controversy, where there are charges of plagiarism involved. But the main reason we're doing this is because there's a theory that makes accurate predictions, and it's being ignored, and that's a terrible. It's hurting the cause of Christ. It's hurting science, and we're just gonna show you some more of the things that probably people don't want to deal with, and that's probably why it's not being discussed. And so we need to deal with that, so that shine some light on it so science can advance. Hopefully there's can be some reconciliation here, and hopefully people can work together instead of against each other, because I look at Walt Brown's gift as a researcher and tying together all these supposed different all these problems in science and answers it with one theory. And yet he's being kicked to the curb. He's being looked at as a hindrance to the gospel, and that's a shame, because if we would have been using him, we all have a part in the body to play. And if his part was being a researcher and a discoverer, really, and if we could have worked, if the AIG and the ICR and other people would have worked with him to get that message out there, we'd have so much scientific clout right now, because he's making accurate predictions. And it's incredible the things he's put together. And to walk down this path again, we will be taking a look at, I think, Peter Robinson's correspondence with Pastor Lee. And we will show you how to get these documents. Go up here and let's see, we're sharing that. And we're going to go into hydroplate.org. And then you're going to go down to hydroplate resources, hydroplate controversy. And then you get to go down and hit the hydroplate timeline. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking for Robinson. And this is where you can go you can go in chronological order and read all of this. And there's a lot of times, and there's a lot of things happen, and then years when nothing happens. And we're looking for Robinson. Oh, wait a minute. 2019, we went too far. So we are getting close. Brown's 9th edition. Oh, letter to Kevin Lee, Mark Louis. No, we haven't done that. We were looking for, what did we do? We did Walt Brown's endnotes. So we've done that one already. That's from his book. We did Henry Morris correspondence. We've done that. Correspondence between Lee and Whitmore. We've done that. And we did the correspondence history between Lee and Vardaman. We've done that. And this one, I think, is similar. I think that one was similar. This one was, what's the date on that? He didn't put a date. Let's take a look at this one. I think we did this one already. Okay, yeah, this one we've done. Okay. All right. So we're going to go back, Vardaman, that one. And we're going to go in between, and we did that one, I believe. Yeah, I think we did that one. Let's take a look at it again. I think that I didn't see much difference between these two. Yeah, they look pretty much the same to me. I'm not sure why they're twice, but we're going to go on to correspondence history between Lee and Robertson. Is that what this is? Between Lee and Robertson. Okay, here we go. Get comfy, get your popcorn. This is Monday, July 6th, correspondence between Lee and Robinson. And I like to read from the actual page. Correspondence history between Pastor Lee and lead mediator Pete Robinson pertaining to Pastor Kevin's July 6th letter documenting Dr. Austin's plagiarism. Where's that? And poor science being featured in AIG's museum. Okay. All right, a little bit more. Dear Peter Robinson. And he was the only guy who had actually read the documents before the mediation. Okay, dear Peter Robinson, and this is from Pastor Lee. Boy, has he done a lot of work. Wow. Okay, July 6, 2009. I have attached for your information a preliminary letter that concerns an issue that you dealt with in 1994. You were the lead mediator in a controversy between Walt Brown and Steve Austin, 1994. So this is, 15 years later. I realize you were hoping that the matter would never become public. Unfortunately, it will become very public, largely because the matter is so important and the underlying problems were not fully addressed during the subsequent during and subsequent to the mediation between Austin and Brown. I have documented Dr. Austin's plagiarism of Dr. Brown's work on the Grand Canyon, and more importantly, how his actions have had such a detrimental effect on the creation science movement. I believe that the main goal of this mediation can be to establish the truth of the matter and then make a strong stand on the truth. The subsequent problems could have been avoided. Right? I believe that had the main goal of the mediation been to establish the truth of the matter and then make a strong stand on that truth, the subsequent problems could have been avoided. In reading the minutes of the mediation and then your two subsequent determinations and all the correspondence in between, it seems to me that your goal was to get these two Christian men to give a little to get a little. The Rodney King, can't we all get along? But truth cannot get along with a falsehood. Please feel free to use this letter to provide a dramatic case study showing that the truth must first be established and understood by everyone, and then the appropriate actions can be found. Failure to do so allows the truth to be trampled. In this case, this consequence has lasted for years with great damage being done to the creation science movement. You may note that some of the links in this packet are not yet active, but they will be by the time of actual posting in early August. You may not realize that on May 6, 2008, Dr. Brown sent Dr. Austin a copy of EndNote 34 and Brown's Grand Canyon chapter, see attachment. This was a month before it was placed in the 8th edition. Brown offered to correct any errors Austin could identify or remove the entire EndNote if Austin publicly corrected the record. Austin ignored this offer. Unfortunately, 30,000 copies of that are now in print, not to mention on the internet. Many people are reading it. I will be leaving for Africa tomorrow and will not return until July 25th. Feel free to respond now if you wish. Some of my assistants are very familiar with the material and may be able to assist you and the others who are receiving this preliminary letter. However, some matters may have to wait till I return. Okay, sincerely, Pastor Kevin Lee. The above email was sent to a known good address of Mr. Robinson. It did not bounce. The email was backed up by a certified letter sent to Mr. Robinson's mailing address. Mr. Robinson has not responded to the email or the letter. And all right. Correspondence history between Lee and John Morris, Monday, July 6th. Let's see what this is. Here we go. Correspondence history between Pastor Lee and John Morris of ICR pertaining to Pastor Kevin's July 6, 2009 letter documenting Dr. Austin's plagiarism and poor science being featured. So he's sending all the big hitters a letter letting them know what's happening. Dear Mr. Morris, I've attached preliminary letter that I believe requires your very careful attention and response. It documents Dr. Austin's plagiarism, and more importantly, how his actions have such detrimental effect on the creation movement. You may recall several emails we exchanged and our 45-minute conversation about a year ago. In that conversation, you told me you deleted the packet that I sent you without reading it, but you asked me to resend it. I did, but I never received from you any response pertaining to my letter. John, I encourage you to read the attached letter to determine if you still want to stand behind Dr. Austin. It proves, using Austin's own words, the serious errors and deceptions that he authored while at ICR. The attached letter also includes my letter correspondence with you about Austin's article in Acts and Facts, and your reply, including Lawrence Ford's answer to my certified letter addressed to you. I want to give you every opportunity to correct me if I have misunderstood the matter in any way. If you or Austin can provide documentation showing where I have erred, I will make the necessary corrections to the attached letter before posting. If you cannot, and others who are also being solicited for rebuttal and comment cannot, then the attached letter with the attachments will be posted at our website as written. It will also be distributed to about 200 creation organizations with a website presence. You may note that some of the links are not yet active, but they will be by the time of actual posting in early August. I encourage you to more carefully research the facts. When you do so, I think you will change your stated position. If you communicate to me in a certified letter that your position has been changed, based on these facts, then I will modify the internet posting accordingly. If you don't carefully research the facts and change your position, then those who do carefully read the documentation will wonder why ICR management refuses to acknowledge Austin's plagiarism and the severe consequence it has had on the creation movement while he was employed with you. They will also wonder why you allowed Austin to use your July 2008 Acts and Facts in an attempt to overcome his obvious bad science and plagiarism. After I provided you with the documents necessary to expose Austin's unethical behavior. You may not realize that on May 6, 2008, Dr. Brown sent Dr. Austin a copy of a Note 34 in Brown's Grand Canyon chapter. This was a month before it was placed in the 8th edition. Brown offered to correct any errors Austin could identify or remove the entire endnote. If Austin publicly corrected the record, Austin ignored this offer. Unfortunately, 30,000 copies of that are now in print, not to mention on the internet. Many people are reading it. ICR is mentioned many times. And then he signs off. Sincerely, Pastor Kevin Lee. The above email was sent to a good known address for Dr. Morris. It did not bounce. The email was backed up by a certified letter to Dr. Morris, mailing address. Dr. Morris has not responded to the email or the letter. Correspondence between Lee and Holroyd. Okay. This looks like it's going to be pretty much the same as the other one. Okay, I have attached a preliminary letter. Yep, that sounds like it was before. You have become, we'll just go to where it's a little different than what we've already read. All righty. Okie dokie. It's touchy today. Hey, we got close. Good enough. Okay, this is dated July 6th. He's sending a lot of these out to Dr. Holroyd. And I'll read what may be different. You have become involved in this dispute because Austin's attempt to cover up his plagiarism by using your 1996 plotting of a single lake joining what would later be discovered by Dr. Brown as originally being two lakes, Hopi previously discovered and Grand discovered by Brown. As you read the attached, you will see that the letter and its two attachments contain links to documents which contains Austin's own words, which prove that he plagiarized Dr. Brown. It also documents your involvement in his attempt to cover up his plagiarism, including sections of emails that you and I traded over a year ago. Dr. Holroyd, now is the time for you to request any modification to this letter as it pertains to your involvement. I want to give you every opportunity to correct me if I have misunderstood the matter in any way. I would also be happy to update the letter with any changes you would like to make about your support of Dr. Austin's actions. If you can show me where I have erred or need to improve, provide updated, if you can show me where I've erred or need to provide updated information, I will make the necessary corrections. If you cannot, and others who are also being solicited for rebuttal and comment cannot, then the attached letter with its attachment will be posted on our website as written. It would also be distributed to about 200 creation organizations with a website presence. You may note that the links, okay, and this is how he signs off before. And many people are reading it. It contains your name. Dr. Holroyd's response, Dear Pastor Lee, I am presently in Changsha, China for all of July. My internet and email access is very limited. I have 14 grad students in the US and 14 students in China, which have a much higher priority for my time than your letter. I will not examine your work until August at the earliest. And as I said in previous correspondence, I do not want to participate in any discussion of this matter. It is a waste of my limited time. I already experienced clinical death January 12th, but unfortunately it was in the hospital, and I was revived, and I did not get my ultimate reward. Interesting perspective. Ed Holroyd. Pastor Lee's response to David Holroyd, July 7th. Dear Dr. Holright, I hear that you have safely returned from China, and I hope your time with the students was fruitful. Oh, this is September 7th. Okay. Okay, the July 6th letter that I sent you with the attachments is now posted on the internet. If you ever have a desire and chance to read the documentation and see any inaccuracies as it applies to your work, then please let me know so that I can make the necessary corrections. The easiest way to find the July 6th letter is at our website, to Google on Dr. Austin's plagiarism. You will notice that the first hit goes to an article titled "Are ICR and CAIG Helping or Hindering the Creation Movement?" Near the bottom of the article is a link to the documentation pertaining to Dr. Austin's plagiarism and bad science being featured in the AIG Museum. This documentation includes a discussion of your work and our letter exchange of last year. There is also a link to my July 6, 2009 email to you, your response, and this response. I'm sorry to hear about your near-death experience and hope you and yours are well. Sincerely, Pastor Kevin Lee. Okay. History between Lee and Ford. I think he's sending the pretty much same letter to everybody that is involved. And correspondence history between Pastor Kevin Lee and Lawrence Ford of ICR pertaining to Pastor Kevin Lee's 2009, or July 6, 2009 letter documenting Austin's plagiarism and poor science being featured in AIG's museum. Dear Lawrence Ford. Dear Lawrence Ford. Okay, we got to do this correctly. Dear Lawrence Ford, I have attached a preliminary letter I believe requires your very careful attention and response. It documents the plagiarism of Dr. Brown or Dr. Austin, and you have become involved in this dispute because of your letter, which you sent to me in September 22nd, 2008. Your 2000 letter was in response to my certified letter of September 19th. In my letter, I asked if ICR management stands behind the statements made by Austin in the July 2008 Acts and Facts article titled Red Rock Pass, Spillway of the Bonneville Flood. I also stated to you that I plan to post an article with comments interspersed documenting all the false statements made by Steve Austin using his own words and maps from his 1988 to 90 Grand Canyon guidebook and letters to Brown. In ICR's Acts and Facts article, in one paragraph, I wrote, if you do not go on record stating that you do not support the article, then I will be making it clear in my posting that ICR allowed Austin to use its publication in order to widely disseminate his false statements, which will be shown to be failed attempts to cover his plagiarism of Dr. Brown's work and the detrimental effect of these actions are having on the creation movement. At the time, you responded that you considered Austin's article to be well documented and that Acts and Facts does not plan to issue a retraction of the article, its contents, or its author. Mr. Ford, I urge you to read the attached letter to determine if you still want to stand behind Dr. Austin's article in your publication. It proves, using Austin's own words, the serious errors and deceptions that he authored in your publication. The attached letter also includes my correspondence with you and your reply. I will give you an opportunity to correct me if you have misunderstood the matter in any way. If you or Austin can provide documentation showing where I have erred, I will make the necessary corrections to the attached letter before posting. If you cannot, then it's going to be posted. Okay, you may note that, just jump ahead. You may note that some of the links are not active. Okay, and I encourage you to be more carefully research the facts. When you do, I think you will change your stated position. If you communicate to me in a certified letter that your position has been changed based on these facts, I will modify the internet posting accordingly. Okay, if you let matters stand as they are, those who carefully read the documentation will wonder why you allowed Dr. Austin to use your publication in an attempt to cover his obvious bad science and plagiarism. And then he goes on and signs off as he signed off before. The email was sent to a known good address for Mr. Ford. It did not bounce. The email was backed up by a certified letter sent to Mr. Ford's mailing address. Mr. Ford has not responded to the letter or email. Okay, Lee's history of correspondence with AIG. Okay, is this going to be, this is for Mike Matthews. Looks like it's the same one. They all know what's going to be happening here. All right. Ooh, this one's a little longer the way it looks. Okay, Dear Ken Ham. So he's going right to the top. All right. That might work. Okay, here we go. Let's push that up. Whoopsie. Okay. And Ken Ham, pertaining to Ken Ham's 2006 letter. 2006, no, July 6, 2009. Dear Ken Ham, I have attached a preliminary letter I believe requires your careful examination and response. And it goes on and talks about what it had before. You have become involved in this dispute because your museum and other products of AIG are featuring this plagiarized material. My detailed letter to Mr. Mike Matthews on March 14th, 2008, a letter he requested, was ignored. Please read my attached letter to Mr. Matthews to determine if you and AIG still want to stand behind Dr. Austin's plagiarism. This letter proves, using Austin's own words, the serious errors and deceptions that he authored and that your museum is now spreading. I want to give you every opportunity to correct me if I have misunderstood the matter in any way. If you or Austin can provide documentation showing where I have erred, I will make the necessary corrections to the attached letter before posting it. If you cannot, then it's going to be posted with attachments and also be distributed to about 200 creation organizations with a website presence. You may note, okay, we read that, and I encourage you to read more carefully. Okay, and you will change your mind and modify the internet. And this is how he signed off the other ones. And he CC'd Mark Looney, Mike Matthews. The following is a letter from Mark Looney as of the Answers in Genesis AIG ministry. This letter was sent by a U.S. Postal Service on July 27th as a response to Pastor Kevin's letter on July 6th. Okay, this might be a good place to stop. We'll read this one on its own. AIG's response. Okay, we're going to end with that because those were all the same, pretty much the same. Okay, so those were pretty much Pastor Lee sending all the players in the game, letting them know what's going to be posted, and he's also asking for any corrections, see if he's got it right. So he emailed them, he certified mailed them, and some people get it, respond. No, nobody's really responded until this one. And so the next one is going to be AIG. I think it's Mark Looney. And so we'll end here and we'll start new on a new stage. Okay, so again, and the reason why we're doing this is because there's a theory making accurate predictions and it's being ignored. And that's hurting science and that's hurting creationists and it's hurting the Christian movement. So we want to shed light on it so that science can advance and hopefully reconciliation can happen where everybody in the body, all the gifts are welcome. Walt Brown had a gift of research and figuring things out and discovering things. And he was kicked to the curb tragically because if they would have learned to work together, you know, it's his ideas and AIG and ICR's marketing, man, we'd have so much clout in the scientific community. But as it stands, and I'm glad I don't have to answer why this was suppressed. And there's a lot of forces that are trying to suppress it. So again, this has to be a grassroots movement to make a change because clearly it's not happening at the top. There may be leaders who want it to happen, but there may be resistance within the organization that's stopping it from happening. And so we need to start asking questions. You know, what accurate predictions have you made with catastrophic plate tectonics? You know, what are your current predictions? What biblical support do you have? And why aren't you, there's a theory making accurate predictions. Why isn't it in your museum? Why don't you let us think about flood models? Why do we have to just memorize your model? There's another one out there that seems to have more scientific validity and biblical validity. You know, can we ask them, hey, can people be a hydroplate supporter and not get blackballed in your organization? Ask them that one. See what they say. So anyhow, we're going to end here and start up in a few minutes and see what AIG's response is to Pastor Lee's letter. And so with that, we are going to end. And thank you so much